Let's give a quick little rundown. We want to talk about mentality for 2025, how to make you guys and me and Gunner and everyone, right, better traders. So there's some things that we do that are just sort of like either emotional or something that might hold us back from making the most out of 2025. All right, Gunner,
Yeah.
why are you fired up? What's happening with stocks? Are they going up or down?
Well, we're going down today, and actually, I saw an interesting stat from Bespoke earlier that this is the 11th straight day of negative breadth in the market. And
Hmm.
if you're keeping track, I mean, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I think this is the 12th trading day of December. So basically, for the entire month of December so far, and it's the 17th, we're getting dangerously close to Christmas right here if you haven't done your shopping. Um, the entire month has been pretty ugly for most stocks. Yes, there have been some very frothy areas of the market, like Matt mentioned, the Minsley portfolio of quantum stocks, the AI names, not named Nvidia, the smaller ones that are running, and then you have the rocket ships, the space stocks. All these things have captured people's attention. For a second there, it was meme coins, but right now, it feels like Bitcoin is hogging all of the attention in crypto. We really haven't seen the broadening out. We did see some big runs in November leading up to the Bitcoin breakout, but it's been pretty steady ever since then. We haven't seen any extensions in the crypto miners. The big crypto stocks are in a holding pattern right now. Like the ones that I think are really solid bets, like Coinbase and Robinhood, are just sort of chilling out right now. So for the most part, we've seen a market where you have, on one hand, stocks like Tesla are powering the averages. Google was, a big gainer that helped prop the averages up. But if you look at the Dow has been down, 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 down. Equal weight has been down, 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 down. Mega cap tech has looked really good. Some of the speculative froth has looked really good, but everything in between has kind of sucked.
Yeah.
It just hasn't looked really good. A lot of the moves just aren't sticking, and a lot of stuff is just drifting and on drift mode right now. It's not that the charts are totally broken, but it doesn't instill a lot of confidence. Now, I will say that this time of year, we talk about the melt up rally, but if you really want to like get down to the nitty gritty of the seasonality, like it doesn't really start ramping until like this week. Right into the holidays is where you see that melt up, and the beginning to middle of December can be kind of flat to downish. So we're at that point right now, but it feels like we got to get moving here, or something's going to break. I'm going to be very displeased if we are having this same conversation the first week of January. Like, well, like we thought we were going to get this market melt up, and everybody had other plans, and Bitcoin still looks fine, and some other big stocks look fine, but nothing else really did anything. That's not the type of environment I've been prepping for. Obviously, we'll need to adjust if that's the case. But what we want to see is we want to see the rally broaden out, and that just hasn't happened yet. We've just seen a ton of red, while the averages have been like flattish with the Dow down or the Nasdaq up. So we've seen these big moves higher into December, and everybody got all bulled up, and now we're just sort of rolling over and drifting and waiting for the next shoe to drop. That's all I'm saying. That's where my frustration comes from in this tape right now. It's like, okay, are we gonna get going here? Are we gonna like gas up this car and get moving down the highway, or are we gonna stall out? So that's what
Yeah.
I'm looking.
And I mean, things could be good, but it does seem like we're turning into a stock pickers market, whereas the index is, they lead the way and you could get into big sectors and go this way or that. Now it's like it is getting very nichey in as to what's going on. And maybe that makes sense. New administration's coming in, people are placing their bets, and we're actually feeling out before you can get some good general momentum into where we're going. Because only a certain people, powerful or whoever that are connected might know which way we're going.
Well, I think
Like
that
throw
might be
your
part of
money
the
into
issue.
this.
I think that might be part of the issue too. Is this a situation, and this is just sort of, thinking out loud and trying to piece all this together. Is this a situation where we've kind of used up the momentum early because the market got all bulled up at the
Yeah.
new administration coming in? I don't know. That's kind of squishy, but I mean, these are the thoughts that I kind of have rolling around in my head right now as I'm sort of sitting here twiddling my thumbs, thinking, okay, like when is this rally going to broaden out and start to push up the consumer names and everything else that people like to buy um, this time of year, instead of it just being like the usual suspects, like, oh, Google's up, Apple's up, and Tesla is now in that category too, where just Tesla goes up every day. But everything else is, not. And I would think that with and where's Bitcoin right now? Bitcoin was at
106.
it's at 106, so it's backing off a little bit. I mean, it's still like, I mean, by no means a broken chart here. Bitcoin is just drifting higher. It's just sort of, doing its own thing here. But I mean, Ethereum hasn't really played catch up yet. I think it's setting up nicely, but that catch up trade is kind of on hold here as Ethereum kind of bumps into those former highs. Like 4,000 seems to be giving it some trouble. Like that's where it reversed back in March earlier this year when it had that huge run. Like February, it was at 2,300, and then it rips higher to 4,000, and then it goes right back down again into the summer, and it tries to rip again, and it fails again in, I guess it was the spring in May, and then it tried again to break out above this mark about a week ago, a little more than a week
Yeah.
ago, and it failed, and now it's back to the same spot. It's like, okay, it's knocking on the door. Are we going to see this expand, or is it going to be just like two or three oddball meme coins that I don't even want to mention the names of here that are just ripping? It's just kind of silly is the thing.
Yeah.
It's like, why is this one going up? But anyway, so you can kind of sense like, okay, like you can feel the hurry up and wait kind of sense in the market. And of course, everybody's bulled up right now too. That's another thing, is that like most investors don't have their noses as close to the screen as we do. They don't see this day to day. They don't care that breadth has been bad for almost the entire month of December right here. They see that their stocks, and especially the big, headline name stocks, are just like hanging out and pushing to all-time highs. And so everything's great. Market's perfect. The S&P is going to post 27, 28% gains on the year and have like an amazing year. So like, why should they be concerned? And yet everything under the surface, it's like, okay, are we going to have one of those days where the mega caps finally kind of roll over and then we see people rotate back into the speculative names? Or are we going to have like a day where everything just gets absolutely hammered and then nobody knows what to do? So I
Yeah.
don't know. I think even shorter term, we could see a situation where we do get more of a melt up, and yet the indexes are kind of rolling over a little bit into the end of the year. Because if you think about it, if this does broaden out a little bit, this rally right here, then I think people are going to rotate away from the mega cap trade, which was propping things up. So at best, you're going to have like break even days, and that would be fine for us. And again, like you say, you and Patrick going back and forth about what a stock pickers market is. It kind of always is a stock picker market. It just depends on like how big the basket is that you can go through the garden with and load it up. Because sometimes there's a lot and sometimes nothing's ripe. That's how it
Yeah.
goes. But if we do have it broaden out, then I think that we'll be in a situation where maybe the hot names like Tesla and Google and Apple chill out a little bit, and you don't really see the gains in the averages, but you do see the average stock that had been setting up that maybe mellowed out and consolidated a little bit. You see those stocks starting to push higher, and you see better breadth days, but you just don't get the big gains in the indexes. And I think that would be ideal if we do get a situation like that, especially in that magic week between Christmas and New Year's. That would be very ideal for the trades that I have on and some of the other stuff we're looking at. And I think we'd have a better chance of putting on new plays that could do well into the first half of January, just looking at the very short term. But if we don't get that, and we see the same thing where, hey, the S&P looks great and the NASDAQ looks great and the Dow stinks, and, Tesla's just, marching higher every day, and so is Google and some of the others. I think that like maybe we're in for like, a bigger hangover once the new year comes around. I think it's time to start thinking about that, like how things are going to change in January once these seasonal tailwinds are gone. Like, how's the market going to react? And I think that's the stuff we need to really start planning for. Just something to chew on, thinking about the year ahead as well, is that we came close, but we did not hit a 10% pullback in the S&P in 2024. And unless something changes, we're not going to. And a 10% pullback is pretty routine, and it's something we should keep an eye out. I think we will get a 10% pullback in the S&P in some form or another Doesn't necessarily have to be super fast. It could be a grind, but I think we'll get it in the first half of 2025 at some point. Most likely after the first few weeks of January, sometime between, let's say, very late January and the end of June. I think we'll at least see the start of something like that. And that doesn't mean that the bull market's over. It doesn't mean anything, but it's going to feel bad when we're in it because people aren't used to it. You got the recency bias is going to be off the charts bullish for a while, and it's going to knock some people around. And so we really have to be aware of this. And this type of market reset, they're normal. They happen usually, on average, once a year or so. We didn't get one this year. Be on the lookout for that the first half of 2025. But we'll talk more about that. We're going to talk more about 2025 strategy in real time as we see things develop. These are just roadmaps that I like to try to draw up to sort of adjust my thinking and stay one step ahead of everybody else. Because right now, how's everybody feeling? Bullish, bullish, bullish. You know, averages are at all-time highs. Big stocks are up. Bitcoin is up. The news is bullish. They see green. That's all they see. And it's going to take a little bit of red for them to really snap out of that and start thinking about any downside action. We want to be ahead of that in 2025.